Hey, how's it going? So today we have the second batch of the Liquid Barn fruits. Again, shout out to Liquid Barn for sending these to me. I didn't pay for them, so there's your disclaimer. But today we're going to be covering their pineapple, their peach, their orange banana, and because I know how to have a good time, I'm going to go ahead and try to vape some strawberry and tell you exactly how little of it I can taste. Starting right off, I have their pineapple. This is somewhere between sort of a realistic but soft pineapple and something a little bit more artificial for me. I do get some kind of almost like canned pineapple here. It isn't quite as canned as something like Cap's Golden Pineapple, but then again, it doesn't really have the vibrancy of that kind of flavor. It's just a little bit soft overall. I do get something that feels a little bit more like a realistic tartness up front, but the actual sort of body of the pineapple is really sort of muted. You know, with pineapple, you're used to like big, ridiculous, kind of vibrant flavors, and this just isn't really doing that for me. The artificial thing comes in. There is quite a bit of sweetness here, but it doesn't really cross over into that candy pineapple, like white gummy bear kind of thing. It just tastes a lot like sort of artificially sweetened canned pineapple. So I've had these testers sitting around for quite a while by this point. And while, I usually like to test with a fairly long steep on things, it can affect sort of the vibrancy of fruit. And so I was thinking like, hey, maybe the problem with this is I let it sit around too long. So I did mix some of this up fresh as a shake and vape. And I'm not really a bigger fan of it there. I find that right off a shake, it has kind of a plasticky, sort of metallic kind of artificiality to it. With a steep, that kind of settles down a little bit, but what you're left with is like a very background pineapple note. It doesn't have like anywhere near the tartness of something like TPA's pineapple. It isn't as juicy as Capella's Golden Pineapple, and it doesn't have like that sort of realistic pineapple like Inaware's pineapple. And so because of that, it's kind of a little bit hard to figure out a place where I'd really go with this. Overall, it's not a, bad flavor. I mean, there's nothing particularly off after it steeps. It's just really soft and sort of more of a background than anything else. I think you could probably sneak this into the background of a lot of mixes. You wouldn't necessarily notice that. You get some extra like fruity sweetness out of it. Still not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it should be fairly unobtrusive if you already have it and want to use it. But in terms of running out to sort of pick it up as a great pineapple flavor, I'm not sure I'm really on board there. Liquid Barn suggests mixing this around 8%. And even at that 8%, I'm still not getting much vibrancy after it steeps. So, 8% seems like a good enough place to start using it. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing, like catastrophically wrong here. It just isn't nearly as sort of vibrant and interesting as I would expect a pineapple to be. Next, I have their peach flavor. This one's a bit weird. So I do get some peach here. It feels like a sort of artificial peach. It doesn't feel like more natural and kind of tangy bright like a normal peach does, like a white peach. You could kind of call it like a yellow peach flavor, almost a canned peach kind of flavor. The artificiality here, generally when peach flavors go artificial, they tend to go for like a brighter, stronger, like peach rings kind of flavor. This actually doesn't really do that. It's artificial more in the way of like iced tea peach flavoring. So overall, the peach here isn't bad. It doesn't really do a fresh peach for me at all, but it's interesting. Where this all starts to kind of go off the rails for me, there's a fairly strong sort of butyric off note here, and it's fairly familiar from something like green apple flavors. With a lot of green apple flavors, you tend to get like a little bit of butyric funk around the edges of it. I've trying to use euphemisms because, everybody likes a euphemism. I've often called it like kind of a barnyard taste to it, just because it isn't really like straight butyric vomity like some of like your V2 and DX flavors. It's just like this light kind of funky edge around it, And this is definitely doing that. And I've never tasted that in a peach flavor before. Like I said, usually used to that with green apples. It's fairly strong here, actually. It's quite a bit stronger than it is with a lot of the green apples, and it's kind of hard to get away from. My sample that I tested for this had been steeped for at least a month, and it was still kind of weird around the edges. It actually reminds me a lot of a much, much less concentrated version of something like Flavorous Pear, which if you haven't had it, obviously don't run out and buy it. But Flavorous Pear has that kind of really heavy butyric acid around the actual pear. And what it kind of does is with a sizable steep, it tends to lend quite a bit of like a mealy, sort of accurate stone fruit kind of texture. I think this is doing a lot of the same thing. There's some decently thick mouthfeel here, and there is actually some texture, but that butyric note, at least solo, is kind of a lot to deal with. So in terms of where you'd actually want to try to use this, I do have to give a shout out to Fear, who has a bloody mango sorbet recipe that actually uses Flavorous Pear really well. These kind of flavors can work. They just need to be in the background more than anything else. And again, you're looking at a little bit more of a steep, but they do sort of work to give texture to fruitier flavors. So I could see this used at a relatively small percentage, like 3 to 4%. You're not going to get much peach there, but you will get some of that texture. Liquid Bar suggests mixing this at 10%, which is just way overkill for me. I don't know, those sort of butyric notes are way too powerful for me there. But I could see putting this back behind like brighter fruits like oranges and strawberries and pineapples and actually other peaches and stuff like that, to sort of texturize that fruit, and hopefully with something a little bit brighter up in front and with the steep, you're not going to run into too many of those weird off-note issues, and you'll just get the texture from this. But yeah, I mean, this this was interesting. Next, I have their orange banana flavor. I like this one quite a bit, actually. With the one big caveat that we'll get to, but for the actual orange banana here, the orange is actually fairly realistic, which isn't necessarily something I would have expected going through this line so far, but I do get like some good kind of like orange juice body here. I do feel like there is a fairly prominent sort of orange zest note, and that's even after a steep. There's quite a bit of harshness to that orange in general, but I think the orange is definitely realistic and definitely sort of pushes this entire thing into kind of a smoothie kind of taste, kind of an orange Julius kind of orange. Overall, I think it's pretty good. The banana here seems a little, I could just be making this up, but it seems a little bit more vibrant than the banana that I was getting out of just Liquid Barn's banana by itself. Same basic principle though. You do have some artificial banana notes here. I don't really find them particularly overwhelming. I think they're balanced fairly well with like a more realistic kind of green banana taste, more akin to something like Flavor Arts banana. The orange and the banana here really help each other out. So I feel like the orange kind of reinforces the banana and gives it a little bit more vibrancy. It makes it hit a little bit harder. Whereas the greener, smoother part of that banana kind of helps to tame some of the throat hit from the orange. But in general, I would say this is fairly harsh for me. It's definitely a throaty flavor. I don't think it's unusable, but it's something to watch out for. I think the trick in using this flavor is going to be figuring out some way to kind of tame that throat hit. So strawberry seems like a really good suggestion, especially like one of the TPA strawberries, or, spoiler alert, kind of the Liquid Barn strawberry, something that has a lot of maltol in it would kind of help take the edge off. You could also go ahead and add in some straight ethyl maltol or some cotton candy or whatever if you wanted to keep this really just dead on for the fruit profiles. I think this would taste really good with pineapple, but I'd be a little bit worried about extra throat hit there. Overall, though, this does kind of remind me of sort of an orange Julius. Like, it definitely has that smoothie kind of taste and sort of consistency. There's some actual thickness here. So I think you could turn this into a pretty decent smoothie. My first sort of go-to for that would be TPA's whipped cream. Not necessarily for the cream, though, but for all the triacid in there. It's going to help kind of smooth out the harsher parts. It's going to make it feel a little bit wetter, I guess, and denser at the same time. So with that, with the little bit of cream that is in TPA's whipped cream, and then some of that smoothing, I think you could get most of the way to like a good Orange Julius or something like that. Liquid Barn suggests mixing this at 9%, which, given how harsh this is, it seems a little much. I don't think I'd be too far beneath that. You know, I do like some of the vibrancy, the flavor up that high, but I'd probably be more around like 7-8%. And then just with the caveat that I'm going to have to do something about the throat here. But this was definitely kind of a pleasant surprise. Really solid blend of orange and banana. I'm a pretty hard strawberry mute. I have a lot of issues tasting strawberry flavors. Generally, to me, they just taste kind of green if I can taste them at all. Usually just kind of avoid it. I mean, it's one nice big chunk of flavors that I don't have to pretend like I know anything about, which is really, really refreshing. You know, captive audience and all. I do have some of the Liquid Barn strawberry here at 8%. I was going to go ahead and give it a shot, tell you what I can get out of it. You will get no notes because they will be useless, but, you know, we'll call this academically interesting. So as screwed up as it is, basically what I can go off of here is sort of my perception of off flavors from other strawberries. So just tasting this, it tastes wrong to me in the same way that like TPA's strawberry tastes wrong to me. It feels like it is a slightly green version of those weirdly like wrapped strawberry candies with the sort of chewy center. It's definitely a candy strawberry. Judging against other people's notes on TPA strawberry, I'd say candy strawberry is probably dead on. It does feel like this one is a little sort of greener and maybe a little bit harsher to me than just straight TPA strawberry. I'm testing this here at 8%. I'd say this tastes a lot like maybe 2.5%, 3% TPA strawberry to me with a little bit of TPA strawberry ripe added. Definitely feels like it's in that kind of family of candied strawberry. And like most strawberries, I have like maybe 3 hits on this before like it starts to mute out entirely. So I'm definitely getting some of that. So if you are a strawberry mute and you were looking for something that you could taste, probably not going to be this one. But yeah, overall, I mean, it seems like a fairly decent sort of candy-ish strawberry blend. Probably not worth getting all that invested in if you already have TPA strawberry, but if you do have like a bottle of this lying around, I think you could probably sub it for TPA strawberry at least twice the percentage. But yeah, as a strawberry mute, that's about where my interest with this ends. But you know, kind of tastes like TPA strawberry. Thank you for watching. Somebody described how they can't taste a particular strawberry. Everybody was definitely enriched by that. I should do that all of the time. But so a programming note here. We got the holidays coming up. My video uploads are going to be a little bit more sporadic. I'm going to try to keep on top of my flavor reviews, but actually getting the time to record and edit videos is going to be a little bit sketchy here or there. But definitely still be around, definitely still be putting stuff up. It just may not be as much of this quality flavor action as you're used to. But if you were looking at these, I do hope that was helpful. I really do appreciate it. I'll catch you later.